Several years ago, this beat-up Lenovo box left the Geekhouse, containing what was at the time my dad's new computer. A brand new, at the time, Lenovo Haswell-era Core i3 system. To replace my dad's ailing old computer with a dying hard drive and obsolescence all over the place. It is now years later, and that Lenovo box has come back to the Geekhouse. And I think I should quit trying to be so dramatic about this. You know the Lenovo's not in it because of the title of this video. Yeah, that's right. That ailing old computer that my dad was trying to get rid of that was grotesquely obsolete, it's in this box. And you know what? It's probably worse than rubbish. Whew, what have we gotten ourselves into?
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Well, folks, as Project EVTO continues to progress, along with 2022 in general, eventually we reach certain milestones, including, dare I say it, a few points of no return. As we begin taking a look at this junky computer in front of us, I am forced to part ways with a long-running insult I have for the internet's garden variety no-lifes who sit around trolling on the internet all day. I've traditionally said that said internet no-lifes sit around trolling people on mommy's eMachine. Well, we're looking at my dad's old eMachine here. You don't seriously think that I would have bought an eMachine at any point, knowing what they are, knowing what they were, and knowing what the brand has traditionally stood for? Not a chance. Oh man, there is so much history behind this thing that has literally nothing to do with me. So let's try telling this story as best we can before we start looking at this thing. So this is an eMachine that hails from the Windows Vista era. Look at this, Windows Vista Basic. But it had Home Premium installed originally. And, get some AOL. Wow, Intel Celeron. I know it's a single core. eMachines T3656 everyday computing. Browse the web, watch movies, email friends, burn DVDs and CDs, create spreadsheets, manage music library, edit and view photos. Came with Windows Vista Home Basic with Service Pack 1, Intel Celeron 440, which I think is a single core if I remember right, Intel Graphics Mode 950, DVD-RW, so at least it had a DVD burner, 160 gig hard drive, a single gig of DDR2, so this thing, RAM-wise, is contemporary with mid-noughts. Ugh. And a 15-in-1 memory card, so at least it came with a card reader. It may have been an eMachine, but at least it was a well-equipped eMachine, sold at an affordable price at none other than Best Buy.
Epic fail.
So, how can I put this nicely and keep it family-friendly? Best Buy and I, when it comes to computers, have a rather, checkered past. To put it nicely and try to keep it family-friendly. So, when I was first going off to college, the computer that was supposed to get me through college that didn't, the HP Pavilion 8700 BTO, build-to-order system that we ordered right from the Best Buy store, the computer that was supposed to get me through college didn't. We paid hundreds extra for a service plan, and then when we tried to invoke it, Best Buy blew us off. And so, I wound up building my own system for the first time ever in college with the Silver Bullet. The rest is history. You can say that was the silver lining on the otherwise very expensive cloud, because we spent, what, $1,700 on the computer system, because it was a high-end Athlon at the time? aka where that processor came from. By the way, the processor was wrong. We ordered 800, only got a 750. But since I was on campus with a 750 megahertz processor instead of 800 megahertz, I didn't want to go through the hullabaloo, and I was just getting used to college, so we ate that as a sunk cost, as we'd say in the business world. So, right. The computer that was supposed to get me through college didn't. I called Best Buy. They should have sent out what was their equivalent back then of the Geek Squad to college to fix my computer. They blew me off and gave me the runaround. They never did a thing. So $1,700 PC plus $300 service plan, $2,000 college computer, they blew me off. Well, fast forward a couple of years. The machine you now know as the Delosaurus was gone. We combined that with the parts from my HP to give my dad a system that he could do email on, but he eventually wanted to go out and buy his own system and basically use the one I gave him as a backup. And so he went to Best Buy, and history repeated itself. When this thing started acting up, there we go. When this thing started acting up, they blew him off. And guess where he came afterwards? That's right, yours truly. Great to have a son that's into STEM, huh? For when Best Buy tries to blow you off. Granted, this was the Best Buy of the 2000s we're talking about. Maybe they've changed since then, I don't know. I'd like to think that maybe they've improved since the heady days when they would tell people that CD burning software was so amazing while holding a copy of Norton's System Works. I'd like to think that they've turned over some kind of new leaf since then, but you know what? The Best Buy people, they can tell that story because I really don't care to, and I don't know. I haven't been to a Best Buy since. I think I bought like a DVD movie from Best Buy, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, and we know how that movie turned out. So, yeah, haven't been back to Best Buy. Can you imagine why? So, let's get rid of all this fancy lighting type stuff. Turn on the work light, and let's take a look at this thing, see what we have to play with. I haven't even dusted it out since I got it, and this thing's been sitting in the box for, I want to say, a couple of years now. Well, let's see what we've got under the hood, shall we? So, this thing is, shall we say, dusty, smudgy. Who knows how many times the cat, snuggled up against it or slept on top of it. Who knows? This thing arrived in the condition it was in when my dad pulled it from the house. Probably all the dust is still in there, too. And, there's even dust all over this, too. Alright, so let's take a look at the back panel and see what our starting point is. I don't expect it to be a good one. This is the kind of computer that you would sell to somebody in a retail store who didn't know anything about computers. I mean, my dad really should have gotten me involved in this whole process when he decided to go buy a system for himself. Ugh, dial-up modem. No graphics card, no HDMI, no DVI. We have to use D-sub. Great. Stock power supply with the cuts instead of a metal grill, so cost cutter move there. Takes AC directly to the back. What the heck does this thing have for airflow if that's supposed to be some kind of dust filter? And why would there be a dust filter where the air comes out of the machine instead of where it goes in? Plus, dust still got into it. Well, at least it used regular screws. Okay, do we even want to know what's inside this? It pulls back instead of pulling out. Hey, this is cleaner than I thought. Just some dust and some spider webs along the bottom. Let's see what we got here. ECS Elite Group. Why would you block this off like this, so? Oh, there's no fan, that's why. Ah, okay, yeah. So there's no fan, which means what? What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What did this thing even have for airflow? Or did it need airflow because it runs a Celeron? So, for those of you unfamiliar with computers from the 90s and 2000s, the one stick of RAM! Not even dual channel. No wonder this thing was so slow. What? Look at this. One stick of RAM on a board with two. Are you kidding me? I gotta see if I can max the RAM in this thing. But first we're gonna try running a bone stock and see how pathetically bad it is. So, okay, so stock cooler, obviously. Any signs of capacitor plague on this motherboard? Let's see, get some light in here. I don't see anything bulging. Maybe there might have been capacitor. There could be capacitor plague in the power supply, though. So for those of you that don't know computers from the 90s and 2000s, the ATX standard, basically, if you didn't have fans, the idea was put the power supply in the upper left of the case so the fans in the power supply would suck in the hot air and spit it out the back. Didn't really work so well because your power supply is also responsible for the stability of your system by how well it works with the voltages. So to have it constantly sucking through all the heat of the system is probably one of the big reasons why it has moved down here somewhere nowadays, and you just have a regular exhaust fan out the back or up the top. It's just basic engineering, you know, electronics and heat don't mix, and the nerve center of your computer's electrical systems, keep the heat away from it. The good news is, if we want to add HDMI, we do have something that looks like a graphics slot. Is that PCI Express or is that AGP? AGP was early 2000s. This, well, let's grab an extra graphics card, piece of junk graphics card preferably, and see if it goes in. Oh wait, we'd have to pull that thing off first. Alright, we'll come back to that later. Never mind. So, otherwise, a very basic motherboard. What did this thing have for a hard drive? Ooh... Hitachi Desk Star. Did Hitachi buy, what was that one from IBM that was known for just self-destructing? The IBM Death Star, as it were. Was that IBM Desk Star and then Hitachi bought the rights to it? Let me go check my history here. Hum de la freaking hum. Well now. That sure looks familiar. Yeah, so when Hitachi Global Storage was founded in 2003, after buying IBM's hard drive division, it inherited the infamous IBM Death Star, which was the Desk Star 75GXP. The hard drive was dying in this thing when my dad finally was like, yeah, get rid of this darn thing, I don't want it anymore. Let's see what model that hard drive is. We know the hard drive's no good. And plus, I think what we have nowadays would work better. Or maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should be a dumbass and try and put Windows 10 on it. See how long it takes. Leave it going overnight. No, it doesn't look like this was the screwball model. But we do know the hard drive was dying. Manufactured May of 2008. So this is interesting. I keep thinking this is a mid-2000s machine, but it's actually a late 2000s machine. Here's the power supply, or should I say, here is the power supply. Alright, where does it say it? Because I'm still reading it upside down, even though you're not. Manufacture date, 2008-5-6. So somebody came in hungover from Cinco de Mayo and manufactured the power supply for this piece of junk. Alright, the dreaded moment when we put a dust can to this thing. This place now stinks of dust and stuff from inside air cans, and my allergies have gone to Pluto. Hope you're happy. The truth of the matter, and the sad truth of the matter, is that there's really not much of a point to getting this completely dust-free. Number one, I don't have any cleaning putty, because the last cleaning putty that I had turned to slime from sitting around too long, so I gotta get some more. Number two, it's gonna sit around and get dusty again anyway, so you might as well just catch it up with getting rid of the dust and the pet dander, and I still see some dust in the CPU. Let's make ourselves sneeze one more time, for good measure. Well, it's spring, and I guess I should be prepping for allergy season anyways. You know, it's stupid. We've had the pandemic going on for 2 years now. I should have just threw a mask on for this. It works on dust. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get. So, let's be a dumbass, and let's begin with bone stock. Just try and see what we can do. We're gonna have to use 32-bit Windows 10 with only 1 gig of RAM. So, see how it works. But already, just from the configuration alone, it's gonna be worse than rubbish. Matter of fact, it's probably gonna be worse than Midnaughts. 2005. Actually, it's probably going to be even worse than the... No. It's going to be worse than the new Silver Bullet, by the way, with the 2005 hardware in it. This is gonna suck. Yeah, you can tell I took some influence from the 90s. D-sub. As if this thing didn't already have the deck stacked against it. Okay, we ready? First time it's run since it left the house. Let's see if the hard drive finished conking out. Alright. That's not a good sign. That is a good sign. We got a post beep. Cool. Let's see here. We have nothing because we need to change our source to analog. Analog. There it goes. Alright, eMachines. That's something. And it probably has to do an extended... Yeah, it probably has to do an extended memory test. First time it's been started in a while. How's this thing doing? It's a quiet system. It only has a processor fan on a Celeron and a power supply for that. Let's see if we can get a load of this. Either boot menu or BIOS setting. Oh, okay, it's going to make it past that. Realtek boot agent, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Restarts all by itself. Okay, well, that's a start. Well, Dad, I'm happy to report that all those years ago when you brought this computer to my house, you didn't accidentally leave a CD in the drive. But, how do you close this thing? There's no button to press once it's open, so you gotta push the tray. There's the button right there. Not exactly the smartest design now, is it? So it's not like whatever that car was he had where, you know, he had a CD get stuck in the CD player for years until he eventually gave up on ever getting it out of there. There's our problem right there. Disk read error. Probably from the dying hard drive. Power consumption of this beast is 56 watts. So this thing is already sucking more power than either of the two Delosauruses, which is why this thing is completely not worth it, and it's just begging for the scrap heap. Maximum stupidity! And it's USB 2 nonetheless. Come to think of it, I think my dad actually sent me an email that was going on. He's like, hey, how come the fan keeps going nuts in this thing? Alright, will it boot off a USB? Late 2000s, it should support it. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? It went to Vista! Is it using it as like some recovery of some sort? I probably have to go to the BIOS and change the boot order. It's booting Vista! No frickin' way. Windows Vista Home Basic. It started. How? Are you kidding me? I am not keeping Vista on this thing. No thanks. Vista is EOL, just like Windows 7. Holy crap, it went to my dad's desktop, and I'm not showing anything of it. Oh, wait a minute. It even... Oh my goodness. What the heck kind of... What? Oh no. I hope this doesn't try to sign into AOL over broadband. Okay, this is... I told you this was worse than rubbish, and now here we are. So we're looking at a single-core Celeron from the late 2000s and a gig of RAM. It's running Windows Vista Home Basic, which was the stripped-down version of Vista that was used to try and desperately sell Vista back when XP was still very much the one to have back in those days. I just can't believe it booted when I was trying to boot off a USB. Probably it's set to boot to the hard drive first, so it doesn't boot rogue USBs and run malware. USBs, what am I thinking here? Oh, my allergies are going crazy right now. Let's see. Birthday video I made for my dad in the style of my YouTube videos back in the early 2010s. That's still here. I should probably put that onto storage and see if he has a copy of it and send it off to him. CCleaner, he used TomTom, and he used WebRoot Spy Sweeper. This actually represents a lot of my dad's, a lot of the ways my dad has tried to learn computers, because he basically he installed some of this software on here. Like, he liked his WebRoot spy sweeper and stuff, and actually paid for a subscription for security software. He ran AOL, of course, CCleaner, things like that. We're not going to do anything fancy with this desktop, except ask him if he wants anything off of it or something. I think the first thing we should do is a check disk CF to scan the drive for bad sectors, since it didn't boot the first time, but it could also be dust on the connectors as well. We have the side off. We could always just pull the serial ATA cables and blow the dust off of them. But 1 gig of RAM, if we want to try Windows 10 on this thing, we're going to have to... if we're going to try Windows 10 on this thing, we're actually going to have to use the 32-bit version. So, then again, that's what this Vista is. I want to see if I can get Nova Bench to run on it, though, just see how horribly low the score goes. Run the same benchmarks we just used for Rubbish, which means, before we do anything, while we have it running, importantly enough, when this thing is no longer churning at 100%, we'll plug the network cable back in, and then when it stops churning at 100% from all the security software updates and stuff, then we'll go get it. It's probably a good thing I have a hardware firewall these days. This would be pretty scary if this were going straight to the modem. Okay, we're going to do UserBenchmark if it even works on Vista, and then we're going to do the right thing and nuke everything on this machine. The truth of the matter is, my dad and I, oh, look at that user account control from Vista with the old sound effects. Sorry, you need at least Windows 7. And that really is the problem here, isn't it? Windows, shut the whole thing down. Windows Vista. That really is the problem with this whole thing. Windows Vista, for those of you that are unfamiliar, because you're really, really young, enjoy your youth while you have it. Windows Vista was the rough draft for Windows 7. It was a disaster. It had all kinds of problems, and people didn't want to give up XP until Windows 7 came out and finally got everything right. It's the... oh, crap. Well, it went into standby mode because it's not one of my computers. So, okay then. Well, we'll just hold the button down until it kicks off, and then we'll adjust the boot menu to try and get Windows 10 booting off of the front USB. We might have to use a back USB port for it, though. But we're going to do the right thing and just blow everything away on this machine. Because the other part of this whole story about my dad and his data and stuff is that we went over this machine with a fine-tooth comb before we got rid of it to back everything up that he wanted to take to the new machine. So I think we might have even mounted the hard drive externally or something and then put it back in the machine. Regardless, though, let's just wipe everything out, put Windows 10 on it, because if he had second thoughts and wanted something off of this machine, he's had literally years to let me know. So it's time to try putting Windows 10 on this thing. Alright, we have pre-UEFI here from 2008. What happens if we hit USB? Alright, invalid partition table. Alright, that's not working, right? USB zip round 2, this time with a back USB port. Invalid partition table. Yeah, a little too old to be using USBs to boot Windows. We're actually going to have to burn a CD. How long has it been since we did this? I'm lucky I even still have some rewritable DVDs around here for this type of stuff. Oh wait, there's no button. Well, yeah, push it in. Get our boot menu up here. That's what, F10? On this beast. You can somewhat see the light through the door with this little primitive design there. F10, F10, F10. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, hard drive is first, so we gotta go CD-ROM. Yeah. Yes, the OptiArc, you piece of crap. Alright, boot from CD. This is Windows, press any key, yeah. This is Windows 10, 32-bit. So, the wimpy version of Windows 10. And it didn't show me the thing for very long. Are we about to get a thing on the screen that says, "This doesn't meet the system requirements"? With its gig of RAM, single-core Celeron from the late 2000s. You know, with this thing, this may very well be the first computer that I have that's too old for me to do anything with bone stock. And to think, my dad ran this thing into the ground. He was trying to send emails on it as recently as the middle of the last decade. I mean, I hooked him up with that Lenovo in 2016, which replaced this thing. but he ran this thing into the ground until the hard drive started conking out. Alright, how long is this going to take? It's stupid, though, that I have to look at the light through this little crack in the thing here and can barely see it. Now, it'd be nice to know that the drive's even doing anything in the first place. We have a Windows 10 logo, and it's squashed. I wonder if it's because we're using dsub. Yes, I do know that it's VGA, but the connector is called a dsub connector, so it's really the only dsub connector that's used for graphics. Oh yeah, it went to 4.3. Oh, what do you know? Alright, let's see if we can do anything with this hard drive. We probably have to repartition it or something. But, well, Dad, I hope you enjoyed this computer and all the headaches it caused you all those years, because it's pretty much been underpowered most of the time that you only needed it for email and some internet. But I'm putting this thing out of its misery and putting Windows 10 on it so it can actually be proper for the 2020s. Click. Install. Say goodbye. The show is over. I'm wiping your hard drive when there's no one around. 'Cause I'm a loser. Stop parodying stuff. And now because I blew the dust out of this thing, there's a little layer of dust all over the table now. Right, I'll just grab a vacuum cleaner or something. We're not going to register Windows. We're just going to put up with the watermarks, because this is just obviously for testing and crap like that. Give me Windows 10 Home. Isn't there one of these that's made for, like, point-of-sale terminals that's smaller, like the N version or something? I don't know. Let's just go with the basic Windows 10 Home on this clunker. Come on. Single core, baby. Hey, last updated June of 2021. Yep, alright, let's go here. Oh, look, we have the original hard drive, whatever's left of it. Just nuke everything and put Windows 10 on it. Since it's Vista Home Basic is a little... It's only got 150 out of 160 gigs available. Typical. Alright, let's see here. There it goes! You know what one of the cool things is about Windows 10? Using USB speakers, wondering if you're ever going to get Windows 10 to finish installing and stuff. And then hearing the computer start talking from across the room as Cortana is like, "Hey, what region of the world are you in? Let's do this." Not a good sign when the spin around thing has a little bit of a jerkiness in the animation, as we just saw. And it's taking minutes just to register that this computer is in the United States. This might end up being something that I leave going.
Now we have some important setup to do.
Oh yeah, and robot mode on the voice. And it took that long just to say, now we have some important setup to do. Single core Celeron, baby. How did my dad put up with this thing? This experience dwarfs that of rubbish. I figured that it would be worse than rubbish, but not this. I mean, we're talking about things that were a little bit sluggish with rubbish are taking minutes on this thing. That's how far back we're going in terms of horsepower. I think I'm going to leave this thing downloading. Well, we're going to install some security software first, and then we're going to install all the bazillions of updates for Windows 10, if it even runs properly. And we'll just sleep while all that's downloading once we have security software on this thing. It's going to be interesting. These will probably be either the lowest numbers I've ever gotten on a benchmark, or the benchmark just won't run. This should be interesting. We're done. There is something screwed up about this installation. It is looping through all the Windows 10 things. So it keeps asking me to come up with a username, come up with a password, what features do I want over and over and over again, and it's saving the login information. So the installation of Windows is already screwing up on this thing. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, what was that partition program I used? Gparted, there we go. I think I'm going to get Gparted. We're going to blank the drive completely, including maybe any leftovers from Vista that the Windows installation can't see. And we're going to start with a blank drive, and we're not even going to hook up to the network for anything. We're going to try and do a limited Windows 10 setup. But that's going to happen after getting some shut-eye. Yeah, sunrise is approaching here. Oh man, the things I'll do to benchmark a completely useless piece of junk like this that isn't even worth it power-wise. I mean, there's i3s that are better than these things these days. Night 2 of this mess. And we're starting over. I couldn't get Gparted to run on this thing. None of the versions of Gparted out there, including the 32-bit one, will run a GUI on a machine this terrible. I should probably put some more RAM in this thing at some point, but I just want to see if I can get to where I can test it bone stock with the same hardware my dad was using and see how terrible the numbers are. So we just got to get there first. This is Windows 10 32-bit edition, so we just got to see if we can get the installer to stop looping like it did last time. So we're going to do it completely offline, no internet connectivity whatsoever, just to get into the UI, and then we'll take it from there. Alright, we're going to pull the dying hard drive out of this thing and put it in a drive that is in better condition, because I think the hard drive is having problems reading and writing data, and it's an intermittent thing. So the results of that is anywhere from the installer slowing down and basic stuff taking forever, which we could already blame on the processor and things like that. But the thing is, this time around when I went to go through the setup for Windows 10, the keyboard part wouldn't actually work. It errored out with an error message, but then the rest of the installation magically started working again. And the fact that it's looping, but it won't let me type the same name twice, as though it can't remember that I'm setting up accounts and stuff, tells me we're probably dealing with a hard drive with bad sectors and just a dying hard drive in general. Which is what the problem my dad had. The computer intermittently wouldn't start, or sometimes it would slow to a crawl, or even though it was already slow to begin with. So let's get the hard drive out of this thing, the descendant of the IBM Death Stars, and let's put in something from the drives I have sitting around, see if we get some better results. Otherwise, we might be looking at maybe you just can't run this at 1 gig of RAM, and we'll find a DDR2 stick to throw in there to bring it up to 2, and then install 32-bit Windows 10, and then pull the stick and see if it still works. Bottom line is, I can't do anything until I can get past this installation process that keeps looping. Actually, it'd be easier to try the RAM trick first. I still think it's the hard drive, though. We know the hard drive in this thing was dying. It was Hitachi Desk Star, so that was the problem my dad was having with it. He was complaining about in his emails before he bought him the new computer. So, to try and do something constructive with it now is pretty much a fool's errand, even when we've already seen it not start because of a disk read error once, and then suddenly it started working again. Okay, maybe it is the hard drive. There we go, a proper look at the Death Star. I'm sure Hitachi probably fixed the issues that they inherited from IBM, so we're just making Death Star jokes. Alright, Seagate Barracuda 250 gig. I know this one's probably in better shape than the Hitachi that was dying. So let's try installing Windows with this drive. Unfortunately, it's probably going to throw off the results for drive performance, but it's better than getting no results because the drive is flaking out and you can't even install Windows anymore. Whoops. This hard drive is a former Windows 10 system drive. So it's like, hey, do you want to fix this thing? Crap. So, let's see here. We'll go to the command prompt and we'll try and format the hard drive. Just make sure see if we can just nuke everything. I think the recovery partition is going to be a problem here. Shoot. We might need to, hook up something really bizarre in order to have this drive treated as a system drive without having to pull the annoying proprietary drive cage out of this system again, because that sideways drive cage is a pain in the neck to work with. eMachines, gotta love them. Well, this is the most format C::s that I've had to use in a couple of years. Games Drive 3, though, I don't know why why it pretends that Windows 10 was on this. Probably because it's a former system drive, and even if I reformat it, the partitions were still screwy. I just gotta get it to stop recognizing this as Windows 10 so it'll try to install instead of repairing a prior install. This might take a while, though. Okay, moment of truth time. The Seagate drive is in there now, the flaky drive has been removed. Let's see if the Windows 10 setup loops again. If it loops, we will look at the RAM in the system, seeing if we can get the RAM up to 2 gigs or something. I think I have some extra DDR2 sitting around, otherwise we'll be looking to mid-knots for that stuff. Progress! It was the hard drive. By the way, 32-bit Windows 10 minimum RAM is 1 gig. This is going to probably be the slowest computer I have. Slower than rubbish. Maybe even slower than the 2005 system. Yeah, so it was the flaky drive that was messing everything up. Alright, finally, some progress. I now present to you first boot Windows 10 generic light mode desktop running on a Celeron from the 2000s, late 2000s, with only 1 gig of RAM. That's the flexibility of Windows 10 in a nutshell. Probably can't do too much with it. But, you know, again, Microsoft, you gotta really rethink your attitude with Windows 11, because being elitist and forcing PCs into obsolescence doesn't help things in the long run. Fundamentally, people have to be responsible for whether they keep their hardware up to date, not the software company. You know, I have to stop sitting here wondering why things are taking so long when I'm working with systems that are so hilariously bad like this. Oh man. So we're getting a first-hand look at why the system wrecked its hard drive. So, I mean, this is Windows 10 32-bit with the bare minimum amount of RAM, and this is what it looks like with only 1 gig of RAM in Windows 10 32-bit. Processor is pummeled, we know it's because of the computer, but 85% full. When you're starting the system up, it gets to 99% full, or 100% full, and when you slam the heck out of the system, the memory goes to 100%, the drive goes to 100%, and the CPU actually drops down because the CPU is waiting for the memory in the hard drive. That's probably what took out the hard drive on this thing. And now I'm sitting here like a moron, downloading Windows 10 updates. And who knows, this will probably take all night just to get through all these stupid things. Of course, the security software is involved, so, you know, we're all set with antivirus and firewall and stuff like that. But, what's interesting is I've been jumping on Amazon looking to see what kind of RAM upgrades are available for this. And even though this eMachine only has 2 RAM slots and was only designed with 2 gigs of RAM in mind, there's actually a 4 gig DDR2 667 kit that I'm tempted to throw in here and see what it does. And of course, if it doesn't work, then I'll actually have some extra DDR2 around in case I need it for something. Or something like that. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, while we wait, I might as well not spoil the surprise any more than the title already did. This is going to be called the eMachine. It's like, I wouldn't have gotten an eMachine on my own. My dad got one though, and I kind of inherited it, so to speak, when he was like, "Get this thing out of here, I'm sick of it," or so, no. But yeah, the eMachine, and this whole thing's gonna be Windows 10 versus the eMachine. Fitting name for, you know, a brand of computer that I absolutely made fun of for years. Although, eMachines, I remember when it was its own company. It was bought out by Gateway, and then Gateway was bought out by Acer. So this is technically a crappy Acer computer. Although Acer is already a brand that I've associated with, you know, low-cost stuff, to put it nicely. Duh, eMachine. Alright, we'll see how long it takes for this thing just to get Windows updates. Never mind download the benchmark and see if I can even do anything. I think I'll be over in the main area for a while. Well, it's the next day again, as you can see by the daytime streamers. I tell you, this computer is the gift that keeps on giving. Click. I think I can do it! Yay! And that's why this is taking so long. By getting Windows 10 running on the bare minimum amount of RAM with a single core processor. I found out also the, what does this thing have again? Oh yeah, Celeron 440? Yeah, there we go. I found out that the Celeron 440 in this thing is basically a 2 gigahertz Pentium 4 with some differences in like instructions per clock and stuff like that. But essentially, it's a single core 2 gigahertz system, similar to what was cutting edge back when I was in college. Except And I did some digging on when the eMachine's T-Series hit the market. So this is from the Gateway era. eMachines was its own company, then Gateway bought it, and then Acer bought it. This is a mid-2000s budget machine that my dad probably picked up cheap because we saw the drive was made in 2008. It was probably on sale as, please get this off our shelves or something like that by mid to late 2000s when he picked it up. But here's the thing. By getting Windows 10 running on it, when it originally ran Windows Vista Home Basic, we basically have a system where the RAM is always running out. So the hard drive has to keep kicking in, and this thing has to keep doing stuff through virtual memory. Well, I guess we know now why it destroyed its own hard drive, besides the drive getting old, of course. But the slowness my dad experienced wasn't just because of the bad processor, it was because of the low RAM. And I've been seeing this for years. Decades at this point. When I was a freshman in college, going all the way back to the beginning, not necessarily back to high school, middle school, but when I was a freshman in college, the guy next door to me, we became friends. He became an IT guy. He did a lot with networks and stuff. One of my network friends. He had a compact Presario, 64 megs of RAM, couldn't handle Windows 2000. My HP had 128 megs. It could handle Windows 2000. And his was slow as molasses because the hard drive kept having to grind in order to keep the system running. And of course I saw some Pentium 2s on campus that had the exact same problem. So, when it takes that long to open the Start menu, you can imagine just how long it takes to download Windows updates, and the slow single-core processor certainly isn't helping things any. There are phones that are faster than this thing. So, alright, benchmark time, if UserBenchmark even runs, because NovaBench requires 64-bit in order to operate. So, NovaBench is off the table. I'm wondering if I can get Geekbench on this thing and compare it to a phone, just to see if it stacks up. Actually, you know what I could do? See if I can install Geekbench on the LG Phoenix 3 that I use as an alarm clock. I don't even have anything on it. See if I can install the app on there and run Geekbench on that, because it's the oldest, crappiest phone that I have. That's why I use it as an alarm clock. And compare the CPU. But first, we gotta try UserBenchmark. But to free up resources, I'm gonna sit here for a minute while Task Manager closes. The eMachine. And for reference, when the thing's not grinding its drive just to keep itself going and whatnot, we're talking 40-something watts for the Killawatt. So 40 to 60 watts under normal operation. There is a slot for a graphics card, though. Not that it would improve things very much. Okay, are we ready? The first test is how long it takes to open. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I might have accidentally dragged the mouse. Let's click, and then let's hit enter. Boom. Alright, there we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I can. Look at how long it's taking to get UAC. Click yes. Okay, see, you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a really slow remote desktop connection, and the computer's right here. Whatever. Alright, let's see. Do we even want to... well, yeah, I'm going to log in and try saving this. See, downloading server, blah, blah, blah. Benchmark engine running. OS support. Are we going to get kicked out because it's 32-bit? Oh, no. Okay, good. 5025 for the single core. 5025. Well, we know this is going to be a bunch of 5025s. We know the numbers are going to be garbage, but at least the thing's consistently running. I might have spoken too soon. The graphics tests probably won't show anything. Starting GPU benchmarks. Could not find any compatible Direct 3D devices. Okay, that's... Crash! So I take it we're not playing the skill bench game with this garbage. Oh well. Okay, opening report in default browser. Well, this will be a test in and of itself. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright, we'll be back when it's actually on the screen. Oh, wait, here we go. Oh, man. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Behold the wonders of Windows 10 with 1 gig of RAM and a horrible processor. It's registering as a gateway. Well, I guess I got the time period right when I guessed that this eMachine was from the Gateway era. Core 2 Duo, actually. The Core 2 Duo era. Oh, what do you know? Our first ever incomplete on UserBenchmark. The Celeron is 2 gigahertz, no turbo, and it thinks the Celeron is great and it thinks everything else sucks. Could that possibly be because the hard drive and the RAM might be getting throttled by how terrible this machine is? Okay, that's enough of this.
Epic fail.
Geekbench now requires Windows 10 64 and 2 gigs of RAM.
Epic fail.
Alright, panel's back on. Let's shut this thing down. Still can't believe the power supply is the only fan that this system actually has. Alright, all's well that ends in about 2 minutes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It might be faster to shut this thing down through Control-Alt-Delete. Alright, this, and click. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a hard time believing that that it's done downloading updates. And shut down. Looks like we accidentally pulled the plug on this AP as well. Alright, get that plugged back in. We get it plugged back in after we shut this thing off. Oh wait, now it's there. Oh, I unplugged it on the router side. Okay. Alright, shutting down. Oh man, this is just pathetic. Oy. You know, I could say that this is essentially the new Delosaurus, because I'm in a position where I have a grotesquely obsolete system that I'm trying to run modern Windows on. But at least we were actually able to get it to start up. So I think this is something that we need to think about with regards to things people say about these computers. You know, just because you get the system to power on doesn't mean it's going to be an enjoyable experience. So, unlike the Delosaurus project 10 years ago, though, we have a few options. But we'll save those for another day. This thing still hasn't shut off yet? The monitor's been off for like half a minute! Come on, turn that freaking light off already. Alright, finally! Slow in absolutely everything. But I have some ideas. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.